You have a lot going on. And, you know, your efforts to add more time in the day or make better use of the minutes that you've been given has been sucking the life out of you. Anybody? Today, we're going to learn why your efforts to just make the most of your time is actually hijacking your happiness, and your struggle to be more efficient is plundering your passion. All our lives, we've been taught that we have 24 hours in a day and that we should find ways to get more use out of them. But what if I told you that all this thinking is a lie, and that you've got more time than you'll ever need to accomplish everything that's important to you? Yes? Okay, so let's dig into this today. Yes. So welcome to you. If you're watching on the replay, thanks so much for joining in. Make sure you leave some comments, hit those buttons. I'll be back to answer questions or respond to your comments. It helps us just engage as a community. Yes. And this is Free Friday. So now, if you want access to today's notes that I'm sharing, just drop the word time below and I'll make sure you get those. Now, if you're joining me on Instagram, you're in the cheap seats. You're going to want to join us over here on Facebook at 3 Life Essentials, because you won't be able to grab everything that I'm sharing today from here, but you're welcome to stay. Yes, so drop the word time below for the show notes and I'll make sure that you get those. And I want to ask you, what do you think of this concept of time? What do you think of when you hear the word time? Like, what kinds of thoughts or emotions come to your mind whenever you think of that word? And if you're new with me, my name is Amy Miller. I am a wellness advocate and I'm a business coach, and I help fellow SLPs and therapists in private practice make a bigger impact in the lives of their patients and set their business apart from all the others by bringing in additional income streams that provide patients with solutions that address issues rather than just putting Band-Aids on problems. And this is Free Friday. This is our weekly series on Fridays to experience life more fully, more abundantly. Bonus if we can do this in natural ways. And we love to learn out loud here on Free Friday. So when we learn out loud on the broadcast, we use the hashtag Free Friday and share whatever your aha moment is, whatever is freeing your mind. I'm actually going to add on some of my speaker blend oils here so I can connect with you more confidently and more fully and be more focused with what I'm sharing, and that you can receive what I'm sharing well. Yes, so we use the hashtag. So throughout the live, or even if you're watching on the replay, anytime you hear something that's really valuable to you, or a new idea or a nugget you want to hold on to, just type in the words hashtag Free Friday, share that tip that you're going to implement in your life. Now, as a passionate mom, I know you want to do more than just survive from day to day. You want to be a difference maker. You want to build something that matters with your family and with your business, if you are a business owner as well. But finding new ways to, quote, get things done is like squeezing water out of rocks. Now, if you're ready to learn just some simple reasons and ways to be more proactive with your time and turn it into an asset instead of a liability, then let's get started. Okay. Now, yes, and I want to hear some of the things of what you think about with this concept of time. So actually, before we dive in, I want to share with you, let me show you this right here. This is a quote that we talked about actually last week. We talked about what you think about, you believe, and what you believe becomes your truth. And I want you to replace the word time in here. What you think about time, you believe, and what you believe about time becomes your truth. And it becomes a whole new animal, doesn't it? Right? When you start to think about, what do you think about time? Do you think, I never have enough? I always running out. People are stealing it. Whatever your thoughts are about that, you believe that, and it becomes your truth, and it actually impacts other people too. And so let's dive in here when we think about these reasons. And I'm actually going to pull up one other thing here that I want to share with you in just a minute. If I can get it to upload. There it is. Yeah. Okay. Cool. It's bringing it in. Okay. So, in thinking about that, so Jim's mom, she has some pretty famous quips. Honestly, she kind of reminds me of that grumpy old lady on those greeting cards. You know what I'm talking about? You know who I'm talking about? Her name is Maxine, right? Well, one day Jim was groaning and lamenting on the fact that he was not as fast as some of the other kids, like his brothers. And his mom looked up at him and said, "You want to know the secret to running faster? I'll tell you the secret." And then, like, moving her two fingers like they were legs, she said, "Move your legs faster." Like, thanks for that incredible insight, Mom. Right. And as you can imagine, Jim didn't get any faster that day, despite the great advice. And in the same way, I'm sure you've had people tell you great ways to get more minutes out of every hour in your day, but the dividends aren't always in line with the greatness of the advice. And I bet if you looked at it, the people that are telling you how to get more stuff done are the ones that always get a lot done. So when they share their system, it's very likely stuff that you've already heard, and it might not really work the way your brain works. In other words, it didn't really work for you. So I actually want to hear from you. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever heard that didn't do you a bit of good? Do you have one that you want to share? Yes. Yeah. So when we look at how to get more time out of the day, we're focusing in the wrong places. Tomorrow is going to have 24 hours, just like yesterday, unless, of course, one of those days is during a time change. Regardless, there won't be much of a difference. So then what are the 3 reasons? Okay. I'm glad you asked. Okay. Reason number 1, you can't create more hours in a day. You can't create more hours in the day. And despite all the tricks, you'll never be able to create a day with 27 hours. Every attempt to cheat the day and get more out of it is bound to result in your frustration. And while there's certainly some tips you can use to be more efficient and effective with your time, removing distractions, regularly scheduled breaks, batching your tasks. We're actually going to talk about some of those time hacks next week. Time is a finite resource, and it won't be manipulated. So to get the most time out of your day and stop stressing so much about it, you've got to give yourself a little grace in this department. Now, there are some things that you can do to help you along the way, but give yourself a little grace, because you're not going to be able to create more hours in that day. To some of you, this is freeing your mind. To some of you, this is frustrating you even more. And so let's talk about reason number 2. Okay, because this may be hitting home here. Your desire to get the most of your time is laudable, but it may be the case that you aren't being honest about how you're spending your time. How much time do you spend responding to emails and texts that really don't make much of a difference? Or how much time do you spend on social media? Really? How much time do you spend trying to remember what you're working on? I live my life by my calendar. It's honestly a place I write my schedule, my task list, my places to go, things to do. It's where I plan out my life. But the calendar is also a guide. So when I'm scheduling things, I've got to be honest about how much time it takes to accomplish certain things and how much time it will take to transition between two different tasks. Now, let me give you a real life example. The recipes that you find online or in a magazine, part of the recipe is how long it takes you to cook the meal. But in my experience, those times are never right, right? I've started to believe that those magazines start their time after the food has already been gathered and any dicing, cutting has already been taken care of. In other words, it's going to take you longer to cook the meal than they said. And in the same way, there are some things that you're going to do that take longer than you allowed for them. It may be because it takes time to transition to the new task, or because the task just takes longer than you want it to. It's really important to find out how long it takes you to do something and to schedule your time accurately. Now, this one is the kicker, okay? Because the reason that it's stealing your time is because it's not about discipline for you. It's about passion. This is not about discipline and disciplining yourself with time. It's about passion. As my mom was known to say, you find time for the things that you think are important. Or she'd say, you have time for what you want to have time for. So what do you think is important? What are you passionate about? And before we get into that too much, stop beating yourself up over the fact that you spend the 5 minutes between cooking your dinner and eating it sitting on the couch, scrolling through your Instagram feed. It's time to acknowledge the elephant in the room. It's healthy to have some periods of relaxation. Giving yourself a break, a mental break every now and then is a good thing. However, when you've got 30 minutes free, I know you don't have 30 minutes free, but just work with me on this one. If you had 30 minutes free, where does your mind wander and where do your feet land on? If you aren't passionate about certain things, you'll never find the time to work on them. But on the other hand, if you are passionate about them, you'll make the time to get them done. So, yeah, I distinctly remember our lives about 8 years ago. We had a very active 3-year-old who had already quit napping and a pair of 6-month-old twins in the house. And free time was not something we were dealing with, but we had a passion for starting a business that would help people with their health and that's exactly what we did, because it was changing. Our own health was changing, and we were having aha moment after aha moment after aha moment. And our minds were being blown every month or so with different things that we were learning about how our bodies worked and how our digestive system worked and how we could be free and how we had options. And so that's exactly what we did. Every free moment, and sometimes moments that weren't free, we spent working on our business. A few years ago, that business brought my husband home from his full-time gig. And today that business pays the bills and allows us to roam around the country living in our RV. So what are you passionate about? And we're going to be talking about this too over the next couple of weeks, so hang with me. But it isn't the things you're trying to get done that you need to, if it isn't the things that you're trying to get done, then you need to shift your approach to that task or it's going to eat you alive. In other words, find a reason to be passionate about the thing that you've got to get done. I don't know anybody that is passionate about cleaning toilets, but are you passionate about having a beautiful and inviting home? Then you can imagine that task is part of a greater purpose. So, speedy recap. You cannot make more hours in the day, and set aside some of those unrealistic expectations that you have. And it's really not about discipline. It's about passion. I want to share with you this other quote here because this is going to feed into some of the other things that we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks here. But I love this quote here, that I'm just over here building a life that I don't need a vacation from. So think about that. And if you want to, I want to hear from you what action steps you're going to take next from this. And if it's joining me next week for the time hacks that I'm going to give you, the actual tools and things that are going to help you make things more efficient and maybe build more, add extra hours in your day, wink, wink. Or maybe you just want to reach out to me about your own business and how you can bring, how you can set it apart and start addressing issues rather than just putting band-aids on things. I want you to text me. You can text the word biz, so I know what you want to talk about. You can text the words biz to 832-509-5093. I've got it down there in the scroll so you can see it there. And let's just have a conversation about that. Let's open up the conversation about some of these things, and we'll go from there. It was so great to be with you guys this week. You are worth the investment, and I'll see you guys next week for some time hacks, okay? Bye, everybody.